I think we're illogical if we didn't realize that a lot of Black people enjoyed being slaves back when slavery was a thing.
Well, how do you know that Black people enjoy being slaves?
I mean, it's just in history. I've read about a lot of Black people not only participated in capturing slaves, but a lot of Black people enjoyed being slaves. Because of course, when you're really? Brought up doing something like being a slave your whole life, it's all you know. I'm sure a lot of slaves probably enjoyed it and were happy because that's the only lifestyle they were aware of.
That's
West. The topic, Blacks enjoy slavery. The questions, why do you think the wicked feels no remorse? Again, why do you think the wicked feels absolutely no remorse? Let's get into it. I am your host. I am the one.
One, two. Let's get right into it. This good Christian, wait a minute. This good Christian white woman, she made the statement that Blacks enjoy slavery. I'm going to paraphrase a Bible verse. It says, he that stealeth a man and be found with him, he shall surely be put to death. Tell me the joy you will have in that. It also says in the book of Revelations, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. It also said, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So you good Christian, let me use some clean words here because I don't want to get, age restriction. I'll probably get it on this one anyway. But the thing is, you good Christian white woman, there can be no enjoyment in slavery. It is what it is. You cannot get enjoyment out of being enslaved. And you ever think about it for a minute. What about the sexual assaults? Working from sun up to sundown. A man coming into his, I don't want to call it a home, his little farmhouse, his little outhouse. And the slave master come in and he go into the slave's wife and overtake her. The slave kids and overtake them sexually. And this good Christian devil, she's going to say there was enjoyment in slavery. She said most of them enjoyed it. Well, they had no other choice. You get people that's locked up in prison, although they have to serve their sentence. There's no enjoyment. They have to do what they have to do, but there's no enjoyment. You would never make that statement with the Jewish people. I cannot tell a difference between a Jewish person and a German person. And with a straight face, you want to tell me they say 6 million Jewish people were murdered. You will make that same statement and say, well, it was just the times. You will never make that statement. You will never, ever make that statement. All these races think they can make statements about black people and just get away with it. You made that statement against the Jewish people, you won't have a bank account. You won't even have a job. But you can make that statement against black people with ease. There was no enjoyment in slavery at all. Why do you think people like Nat Turner came along? And there were many people, not just Nat Turner, many black males and females that stood up. If there was enjoyment in slavery, they jumped off the ships coming over. They killed their babies and jumped overboard. They want nothing to do with it. But this good Christian devil, she's going to say, well, they enjoy it. They enjoyed it. Young lady, I can guarantee you there will be restitution. There will be reparations. We won't get reparations here in America. It's not going to happen. But the Most High God will give reparations. And if you think it was enjoyment in slavery, you just wait. Because when that time comes, I would like to come pay you a visit. When the Most High ruled the earth, him and his Israelites, when we rule the whole earth, and tell me how much enjoyment you're going to have. You dirty devil. I got four things. Four things I want to say. When you're working up from sun up to sundown with no pay whatsoever, and you're being abused in the hot sun all day. There was no air conditioner back then. There was no break. You just worked with no pay. And this devil say there was enjoyment in it. Okay, we're going to finish up the second half of this video and watch this devil just talk. See, this is the thing about unremorseful devils. The Bible said the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. The wicked. So from here on out, there is going to be no remorse. There will be no reparations because the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. It's just that simple. You're not going to get no apologies out of these people. Even if you got one, it's useless. It's senseless. I mean, you can do nothing with it. These people feel the way they feel until judgment come upon them. I'm going to tell you why. There was a scripture when Cain killed Abel. The Most High say, Cain, where's your brother? Where's he at? Where's Abel? But he made a statement. He said, his soul cries from the ground, wanting justice. Wanting justice. When you murder a person, when you treat a person wrong, when you enslave a person, that soul wants justice. Every year in its country, there's hurricanes coming from that same path that the slave ships took. All those bodies thrown overboard. Why? Why? Because those bodies want justice, and they're going to get it. So let's listen at this devil just continue to just talk. She knows not what she's talking about, but she'll just say it anyway because she got that white privilege. I'm coming right back. Listen more.
Probably enjoyed it and were happy because that's the only lifestyle they were aware of.
That's crazy.
Can you not think like that? Like, is it really that dense?
I have never heard of somebody enjoying having to work countless hours on a plantation, being dehumanized and whipped and told that they're not human and being beaten within an inch of their life and being
saying that's
I don't think that people
I'm
enjoy
just saying
that.
You can't deny the fact that there were probably slave owners that, just like there were really bad ones, there were probably slave owners that probably treated their slaves really nice too, right? Like, you're not thinking logically. You're being so dense.
So I'm just going to say that in general, I think it's wrong to own humans.
Of course. We're not in that time period anymore.
But you're defending slavery.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying it was a product of the time.
You said that black people enjoyed being slaves.
I think there were probably a good majority of black people who back then were born and raised as slaves, probably because that's the only thing they knew. It was the environment they grew up in. If they had a slave owner who treated them well, they probably enjoyed their lives, a few of them. I think it's illogical to believe that every person who was a slave back then hated their life. I truly think that's illogical. I do.
I'm pretty sure that being owned is not a good thing.
Because you grew up in this generation and this is what you've been taught. And we know these things now.
No,
but back then,
not just because
those societal standards were not created yet.
Not just because I grew up in this generation, but because I can think logically and morally on this topic and why it is unfair to own another human based off of their birth as having like a certain skin color, for example. That's unfair.
I'm pretending like I'm saying it's okay to own slaves now, because that's not what I'm insinuating.
You are defending slavery.
I'm not defending it. I'm just giving you the facts. Aren't you all about facts over feelings?
Yeah, and I believe that slavery is immoral.
Right, and I do too. But the fact was, back then, I think you're illogical if you think that some of them didn't enjoy being slaves or enjoy their lives.
Why would anyone enjoy enjoy being a slave.
That's the environment you grew up in. That's all you've ever known. So if you grew up in that environment and you have a slave owner who treats you well, that's just all they know. So they probably were happy about it. They didn't know freedom. Why is it so hard for you to understand this?
What does like a slave owner treating their slave well look like?
I mean, back then, I'm sure some of them, I'm pretty sure they fed them, right? Or probably that like they weren't whipping anybody or like not tormenting anyone. Just like, I don't have like specific details for you.
Okay, as long as you're working inhumane hours on plantations, but you're being fed, then that's a good thing.
Again, I'm not saying slavery was a good thing. You're not going to like try to make it seem like that's what I'm saying, because I don't know what you want me to say. If you want to believe that every person back then who was a slave hated their life, go for it.
I would like to know, how many slaves did she talk to? How many slaves did she interview? I really would like to know. How many slaves has she really sat down and said, hey, Henry, you enjoyed slavery, didn't you? I would like to know how many did she talk to, because every single descendant of slaves that I talked to, they hated it. They had horror stories. And I'm sure black people, probably not today, but back in the day, the grandmother and great-great-grandmother would discuss what happened. And they would pass down stories. And there were horrific stories, terrible things that they passed down from generation to generation. But somehow this devil seemed to think she know more about the plight of people that been through pure terror. One thing about this is, I know, I'm gonna make an analogy here. We have low wages in this country, and we are fighting to receive higher wages. And just to think that you want a higher wage for your labor. Now, mind you, black people, the slaves, never got paid zero. Nothing. And we'll whine about we're not being paid enough. Women has been through pure hell, not only in this country, but in countries all around the world. Now, this devil will tell you, well, it's just the times. Women have been mistreated, especially black women. Even women in India today is being abused. It's ridiculous how they do women. And somehow, if that lady was in these women's shoes, she would not make a statement like that. Women tolerate certain things. Before women even worked, they tolerated certain things. And the minute they had an opportunity to get out, they got out. That's how they formed unions back in the day, as a matter of fact. And this was white men. White men formed unions because after slavery, blacks had all the skills. So they decided to form unions to make sure that they had the ups. They wasn't going to pay black people the same as they pay white people. But even the oppressor knew, he had sense enough to know, hey, I got to set things in place, because if I don't, I won't be paid right. What's going on in America right now? They're bringing in illegal immigrants. And there was a story that Tyson's Food laid off, or no, fired, I think like 3,200 employees, all of them. And yet they put applications out for 43,000 available jobs. They're going to get rid of the higher paid labor and get cheaper slave wages. They're going to pay that. Now, even today, we know something is wrong with that. But this woman seems to think, oh, no, it's just the time. No, when you get a chance to break away from something evil, you will. There's no justice in what this lady's saying at all. None. Let's finish up with the video.
When I tell you my jaw dropped, why would you get on the internet and say that? Why would you get on the internet and say that black people enjoy being slaves? What in your right mind, girl? Girl, what's going on? She said, I'm sure some slave owners were nice. Now, also, I don't know what your definition of nice is, but I wouldn't say that disregarding someone's personal freedom, body autonomy, and liberty by buying and owning them is exactly nice. There's no such thing as a nice slave owner. You can't be nice if you own someone. But I feel like this is one of the reasons that this Florida book ban is such a big thing. Our history books are being edited and rewritten, and people are reading them and thinking things like this. Thinking things like slaves enjoyed slavery because they are not getting the full vision of how horrible slavery really was.
The overseer's menacing scowl watched over all of you, every moment, glance, and breath you took. You could be robbed of your clothes and paraded round town if the overseer said so. You could be beaten raw with leather or metal if the overseer demanded it. You could be branded with hot iron, a mark of shame as much as pain, at the overseer's bidding. The antebellum era of the United States saw a country built, divided, and even go to war over the issue of slavery. Through coercion, humiliation, and racial supremacy, slavery would cost the first African Americans and their descendants today. Welcome to History on Fleek. Today we examine the punishments used on slaves of the antebellum.
I think we're illogical if we didn't realize that a lot of black people enjoyed being slaves back when slavery was a thing.
Well, how do you know that black people enjoy being slaves?
I mean, it's just in history. I've read about a lot of black people not only participated in capturing slaves, but a lot of black people enjoyed being slaves. Because of course, when you're
Really?
brought up doing something like being a slave your whole life, it's all you know. I'm sure a lot of slaves probably enjoyed it and were happy because that's the only lifestyle they were aware of.
That's
This good Christian, this woman says blacks enjoyed slavery. You know, it really amazed me how people would make statements like that, and you hear a good Christian. These people, they'll tell you blacks sold blacks into slavery. One guy told me he said, you know, blacks sold blacks into slavery. Now, this guy got 2 daughters. He telling me blacks sold blacks into slavery. I said, okay, you got 2 daughters, right? He said, yes. I say, your white friend over there, if your white friend sold me your 2 daughters, and I'll do the same thing that they have done to black slaves, would it be okay? And I made this statement forcefully. Now he want to fight. So if blacks sold blacks into slavery, and that's okay, so you let a white person sell me your 2 daughters. Now somehow that's not okay. Their logic is not logical. So here's the final video. When this good Christian saying blacks enjoy slavery, they really enjoyed it. Final clip.
Physical punishment was a day-in, day-out occurrence for the enslaved population of the United States. Punishment could be given out for perceived disobedience or infractions, yet often the abuse was meted out for the overseer to impose their dominance. On any plantation, an overseer had the authority to commit violence upon enslaved people. Typically, this was done with a whip made of cowskin or a lash made of metal. Coercion through beatings was a matter entirely at an overseer's behest. Working too slow, insubordination, leaving without permission, or for no reason at all. Slaves who resisted their captivity, who ran away, should they survive, stood to have the most brutal of punishment. There are numerous accounts from the antebellum period of...
Okay, I'm up out of here. I don't know the definition of enjoyment because, you know, today in America, they're changing the definition of everything. Everything is being redefined. So, I'm up out of here. The way certain people think, and they try to push a negative point of view across and expect everybody to buy it. There's nobody in their right mind would enjoy slavery. There's nobody in their right mind will enjoy being mistreated in any way. From a low wage to a bad marriage to a barking dog that's disturbing you. I mean, you talk about enjoyment. Who will enjoy something that's causing them dissatisfaction? Who in their right mind? Nobody. But I'll tell you one thing. The young lady that made this video, be careful what you wish for. When you tell people certain things that's really enjoyable, be careful. Because, you know, as the Bible say, you got to reap what you sow. As it says, but be sure your sins will find you out. Whatsoever man sow, that he shall also reap. I'm up out of here. I am your host. I am the one.